In the early 20th century, a wealthy and highly successful Swiss psychiatrist made a choice that looked like professional suicide. He decided to let himself go completely insane. Over a 4-year period, Carl Jung actively invited psychosis into his own mind. He gambled his entire reputation on this descent, spending years interacting with invisible beings and visions that his colleagues dismissed as pure pathology. He was working within a clinical, sterile medical world that saw the mind as a machine. This was the era of the Great Stone Asylums, where psychiatry was defined by observation and restraint. Jung realized this medical model was failing to capture the true nature of the human soul. By locking up patients and dismissing their delusions as neurological misfires, doctors were ignoring the actual meaning of the madness. During his clinical tests, Jung noticed something impossible. Severely psychotic patients with no access to higher education were hallucinating ancient mythological stories they had never studied. At first, Jung found a mentor in Sigmund Freud. Freud provided the first real framework for the unconscious mind, and for a time, they were the closest of collaborators. But they reached a point of total disagreement. Freud viewed the unconscious as a biological bin for repressed sexual trauma, while Jung suspected it held a much older mythic layer that belonged to all of humanity. Jung chose to publish these dissenting theories, knowing the cost. It resulted in a brutal excommunication from Freud's circle and total professional isolation. Untethered from Freud's framework and destroyed in his field, Jung's own unconscious erupted. He began experiencing a violent flood of visions that blurred the line between waking life and dreams. To understand the forces breaking out of his own mind, Jung became his own test subject. He set out to map a terrifying, unknown psychological territory. Jung was soon haunted by a recurring apocalyptic vision, the entire European continent being swallowed by a massive, monstrous sea of blood. He genuinely believed he was developing schizophrenia. He even considered abandoning his practice to commit himself to an asylum. Then, in 1914, World War I broke out. His bloody hallucination became a literal reality on the battlefields of Europe. This realization changed everything. His visions were collective premonitions erupting from a shared, deeper level of the human psyche that sensed the approaching catastrophe. Jung developed a technique called active imagination, deliberately dropping his mental defenses to consciously enter his visions, speak to the figures he encountered, and document the landscape. From these journeys, he mapped the architecture of the mind. Directly beneath conscious awareness lies the personal unconscious, containing our forgotten memories. But far deeper sits the collective unconscious, a vast psychological bedrock containing the inherited history of our entire species. Jung traveled to East Africa to prove this architecture was universal. He studied how the psyche and nature remained deeply connected in cultures that hadn't yet been severed from their roots by Western rationalism. He found further proof in ancient alchemical texts. These centuries-old manuscripts contained the exact same symbolic imagery appearing in his 20th century patients' dreams. Jung had successfully mapped the inherited patterns of the human mind. He identified these universal characters and themes as archetypes. Jung returned to the surface world to share his findings, just as his theories faced their ultimate real-world test in 1930s Europe. He witnessed a mass psychosis as the rational, highly cultured society of Germany succumbed to a collective, destructive frenzy. He identified this as the work of the shadow, the archetype representing all the dark, primitive, and unacknowledged parts of the human personality that we refuse to accept. When we refuse to face our own shadow, we instinctively project that evil outward. We find a marginalized group and treat them as the repository for the darkness we cannot admit we carry. Jung saw Nazism as the catastrophic result of an entire nation projecting its collective shadow and attempting to exterminate it in others. To Jung, civilized societies commit horrific atrocities because they believe they are completely good, making them entirely blind to the evil they are projecting. Today, Jung's ideas have spread through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the Myers-Briggs test, and the narrative structure of Star Wars. He transformed the Western understanding of evil, mapping it as an internal, psychological reality that must be managed by the individual. His ultimate solution was individuation. This is the painful process of looking inward and integrating our own capacity for evil, rather than projecting it onto the world. The survival of humanity depends on the courage of the individual to look into their own darkness and awaken.